He was 11 years old when Rainbow Six Siege was released back in 2015, started competing in tournaments as early as 2018, amassed over 560,000 YouTube subscribers, and now in just his very first stage of going pro in Siege is going to an international event. Today, I'm joined by the one and only, the current boy wonder, Spoit from Rogue. Dude, congratulations on the Berlin major qualification and for taking a couple minutes to sit down with me.
Thank you guys for having me. It's a pleasure. CaliberJacob, big name in the community, so I'm excited to be here. And yeah, let's get this thing going.
Does it feel real yet? Like you're competing in gaming for a living. You've got you are a bigger influencer than a lot of other people in the scene. You have this kind of life. Is it something that you've actually adjusted to yet, or does it still sometimes feel surreal that this is what you get to do?
It's still just a crazy thing that you can even play games for a living, in my opinion. It's just such a new thing to me. I mean, I grew up just playing games for fun with my IRL friends. So it's definitely a new thing for me, 100%. But yeah, I enjoy it to 100%. And now being like a pro and being able to qualify to these events and having to travel the world, I just love it.
Does it ever feel super overwhelming that this is the position that you're now in? Because, like 4 months ago, you didn't have a pro career to speak of. Or do you think you got a pretty good handle on what it means to actually be a professional gamer now in that sense?
I'm still very new to the whole thing. So I think I'd have to give it more time. But I'm just excited for everything, to be honest. But yeah, I'm just brand new to the whole scene and everything. And so far, I'm just loving it. So yeah.
You had the big content creation background, obviously, like for years before going pro ever was something that came into the picture. But even though they're two very different sides of the spectrum, one of them is thinking about how you're building up an audience base, and the other one is thinking about how you need to perform at a professional level to do well from a competition standpoint. It seems like there have to be some similarities in pressure that you have to put on yourself, because everything else about it is totally different because they accomplish two different things. So are there some similarities and some differences about how you have to structure your life on the back end?
I mean, that was like one of the big things that my team were discussing before they were actually picking me up, from what I've heard, that they weren't sure about, because I didn't have any experience in competitive, or not that much really.
Right.
So they thought that the pressure might have been like an issue for me. But like so far, personally, the pressure hasn't been like that much of a problem for me, because like I've been used to this whole YouTube thing and like a lot of other projects. So pressure for me, of course, now that I come to a LAN, it might be like different. I mean, there's going to be thousands of people, so
right,
that's going to be a whole new thing. But yeah, like pressure online wise, if I have to put it that way, it's been fine.
Is it a case where, because you've already got so much attention on platforms like YouTube and Twitter and Twitch, that having the whole Rogue army now kind of join into that mix, does that add anything else to it, or does that kind of feel like, oh, okay, it's just it's more people that now know who I am?
I haven't seen it like in that way that a lot of more people see me, or new people. It's just that I get like I get DMs now pretty often that like people are sharing for me, and I think it's just one of the craziest things ever. And I really appreciate it, and it's just so wholesome. Yeah,
that's
like the biggest new thing that I got. Yeah,
gotcha. So obviously, like everybody for years could see that you had the mechanical ability to play Siege on a pro level, but like perhaps even higher, just given the fact that everyone has touted you as being a name god, as being a prodigy, all these different labels I'm sure you've heard about yourself over the years, right? But was going pro something you always had an interest in, or was it something that manifested after enough time of you being told these things and getting maybe encouraged by the right people to say, hey, if you go pro, this might be the right move for you?
So like, of course, when I started off, when I was like 11 and 12, back in year 1, year 2, I was like just this kid that was playing ranked all day, of course, trying to, get the highest ranks. And that was like the competitive mindset I had in mind. And of course, with time, obviously, I grew my contacts and my network, and I got to know more people. And just by the time passed by, I got into these like, what are they called? Like national leagues. That you had to be like 15 plus or 16 plus.
Yeah,
I remember like Nordic Championship back in the days.
Yep.
So like that was the most competitive thing I could play at the time, because of course EU League or Pro League back then was obviously 18 plus. So I was just being given the chance in these small leagues. But then they changed the format. So you basically qualify to Challenge League and onwards to Pro League through these national leagues. So they also became 18 plus. And that's when I was, underage. So I stopped playing competitive, focused on my YouTube and stuff. But now, when I got closer to, of course, the age of 18, I got some offers, and of course, I was really happy because it's always been a dream for me as a kid, to be able to compete like that on a stage. So I'm just happy.
I heard behind the scenes for a couple years, maybe as early as like 2020 or something, that there was obviously a lot of buzz around orgs wanting to sign you, probably even before you turned 18. Was that a thing? Were you getting offers or like sweet whisperings in your ear before you were actually eligible to join the league?
So I was getting offers, not really offers from orgs, but I got like whispers from certain players and stuff.
Yeah.
Not really as a pro player, but more of a content creator, because that's also a big thing. But then now again that I got closer to, let's say 18, and stage 2 was getting close, that's when a lot of people were making roster changes. So yeah, I got these DMs and I was just happy to be given a chance.
So when tier 1 started knocking, did you have a couple different options for where you could have gone to?
Yeah, at the end of stage 1, that's when I had like a few DMs that I got. And yeah, I decided to go through with the Rogue one, yeah.
Yeah, what was the thing that made you settle on Rogue amongst all the different people who you probably could have gone with? Was it like the players on the team, the org support, like what you could have accomplished on the team? What was it that made you settle on those guys?
So I had 3 offers from 3 different teams. I'm not gonna name the other 2 ones because I don't know if they want to be named.
Sure.
But basically the DM. So I obviously got DM'd by all 3 teams, and Tristan or Sathus, that's the analyzer for our team right now.
Mm-hmm.
He basically put it in this whole professional way of like introducing me to the team, the management, everything before actually, scrimming and doing all these kind of stuff. So it was on a very professional level, as well as he was like my old friend. But then compared that to the other teams that I got, it was just this like, we have the, do you want to trial? We have these scrims, these dates, just join up, So it felt pretty clear. With the Rogue offer, as well as how they were improving and how everything looked on during the stage and stuff. Yeah.
So you got a good introduction, a good first impression from those guys, and it felt kind of like if you were going to go anywhere, that was a more natural fit.
Yeah, and I could also see myself like developing more in that particular lineup than the other ones.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Though, like you mentioned, it's not like you came into Rogue empty-handed or anything. Like you did have some competitive experience prior to that. It was the old Nordic Championship, I think, from a couple of years ago. I think I took a dive back through Wikipedia. Like you had like some CCS qualifiers under your belt too, but that was like years and years ago, back when CCS was still doing stuff, right? But was there anything from the time that you spent in those competitive leagues that was a good primer for what you could do in the EUL, or are the two things, or the two methods of competition from like tier 3 to tier 1, are they so completely different that there wasn't much that you could actually carry over?
Back then, I think it was a lot harder to get into the tier 1 league, 100%. But we did scrim a few good teams back then, like tier 1 teams, like BDS, for example, back in the Godsend days, Nordic Championship days. But back then it was just a whole different game, to be honest, comparing it to now. So yeah.
Yeah, how was it with Godsend, by the way? I know that was that mostly like a content creation deal that just happened to extend to, we have a team and we do some stuff in Nordics. How was that structured?
So basically we had a team competing in the Nordic Championship, of course. And then, so there were 5 guys, right? And then we were just playing the Nordic Championship. And then I think during one season of it, basically our captain was basically just reaching out for fun to organizations, and we happened to get picked up by Godsend, and it was just a crazy experience. We're having to first time I'm having to like boot camp and stuff, and it's really fun.
And you were doing that, what, 16, 17, around that time?
Yeah, 16, yeah.
Yeah, so was there ever times where stuff like that got in the way of things like studies or other stuff kind of in the back end of your life that wasn't gaming related, or was it something that you were kind of able to mesh with pretty well?
So with studies, I definitely had, hard time focusing on both things, because I feel like if you want to commit to something, you need to commit to it 100%. And of course, with studies being there on the side, me having to go to school an X amount of hours every day, obviously it took a lot of time. But I mean, I managed to like, do good average, what do you call it, like scores in school. So
Yeah.
I was fine. But then, as time went on, now that I was closer to 18, 17, that's when like my studies went a little bit down because of the time I had to put in like content creation and streaming and all this kind of stuff. So it's hard to manage both. But I was lucky enough to manage it.
So now that you're doing this on an actual professional level, is it something that you've kind of put the studies on breaks for a little bit, or are you going to pull a Bosco and graduate with a master's at the same time you're playing competitively?
That's crazy. Much respect to him. But yeah, I completely dropped out of school. Like when it was even before the pro career, to be honest, because I realized, and I'm very thankful for it, that I was able to like make a living, of course, playing video games and doing content creation for full time. And I was like, I won't get this chance. I won't get another chance like this because, like in Sweden, you can always go back to school, right?
Right.
So I took the opportunity to drop out of school now that I was 17, and then I got this pro offer like 6 months later.
I mean, it seems like it's working out. I mean, from an outside perspective, it looks like it's all going well. But is it? I know from my own experience that when COVID hit, I wasn't able to finish up my own college degree, and that's kind of when esports took over a bit. And in the back of my head, there's always a bit of a nagging presence of like, man, you could have gone back and you could have like stuck with it and finished it out, or like waited however long it took to come back. Is that the same case for you, or are you cool with how everything has transpired so far?
I mean, right now I'm very thankful for how everything went, but also like Sweden was like I think like one of the only countries in the world that wasn't like in lockdown as well during COVID.
Oh, that's true.
So, yeah, so everything was like pretty much normal. It was just that they took these precautions or whatever, like always wearing masks and stuff like that.
Gotcha. All right. Well, how has it been with Rogue thus far? Like the result of you going into a major in your first stage is already like really good. That speaks for itself. But behind the scenes, how do you think you're fitting in with your teammates?
See, the thing with Rogue is everyone is on the same page, like management and players. Like we want to achieve the same goal. Of course, that would be like to qualify for Six Invitational, qualify for all the events, and of course win the Invitationals. So everyone is on the same page. Everyone wants to grind. Everyone has the same mindset when it comes to how we want to play the game together, which is like really important. So we don't have one guy that has like one idea of how we want to do it, and then two guys that have one idea. So everyone's like trying to be on the same page, which is like the best thing in the team right now. And everyone trusts each other, of course.
So this could totally change because there's still like one EUL play day left, and whether this comes out before the EUL season is over or not is different. But you've still got like one of the highest ratings, if not the highest rating currently, I think, in the EUL for your first stage, which is already nuts. But do you think that the way that you're being utilized on this team from a role perspective is the way forward for you? Like you think you're a good mesh from a gameplay point of view with the rest of your team?
Last time I checked, it was like I think right now I'm one of the highest rated, as you said, in the league, and I'm playing like a role that I usually do not play. Like I usually do not play as an entry role.
Right.
But so far it's been working out pretty good, and I think I've been doing a good job. And I mean, of course, I'm getting the support I need for it. But I would say, yeah, I mean, so basically entry isn't really the role I play by nature necessarily. I usually play like a second entry flex kind of role.
Is that the same thing you were doing back with Godson and in the Nordics and all that?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, but now
so far,
it looks like it's working. Unless behind the scenes for you think, man, if we only tweaked a couple things about this playstyle, maybe I could be happier. I mean, what's your take on it?
No, as long as things are working, I'm happy, to be honest. And if everyone feels comfortable and everyone feels good right now, so I'm not complaining.
That's fair. It's a bit of a hot button topic, but given where Rogue sits right now in Europe, it could be like a top 1, 2. I think right now you could theoretically go anywhere on the scoreboard as soon as the stage is over. But Europe as a region obviously gets dumpstered a lot on the timeline or in the media. But as somebody who actually plays in it, is it a free league like a lot of people say, or should it be getting a lot more credit than most people probably do right now?
I mean, it's really hard. I mean, this thing has been going on for weeks within the stage. Like people are just dumpstering on the region and whatnot. I mean, I guess the only thing we can say is like compared to other teams when we go internationally, right? Like that's the only, like we compare EU teams towards any teams and LATAM teams and APEC teams when we go internationally. That's like the only thing I can really say.
So
And
you'd rather not give like a full answer until you test your metal is more what you mean?
Yeah, I would say so. I think that's how we should, look at it.
That's fair. You're heading to a major, which is already like a huge deal unto itself, but you're going right from your first stage of play into that madhouse. And I don't think since like maybe the days of Raleigh has there not been a time where there's been something ridiculous happening, whether it's 17 rehosts in one game, like I'm remembering that OXG Direwolves game from Charlotte, or just like all of the different things that can happen in the context of a LAN environment. You're going right into that, and you've been a pro for 4 months. Just what's your initial reaction to that? How does that feel?
I mean, I hope everything is just working out the way it should. Not too big of any issues. And I just, hope it's going to be a good ride, to be honest.
Do you have any specific expectations for how Rogue's going to do in Berlin? Like as from a team perspective as a whole, do you think playoffs are in your future? Would you be okay if you didn't get out of groups because it's your first event? What's your overall hope for how Rogue's going to do?
I mean, of course, I think everyone should have the mindset of, of course, winning the whole tournament. I don't think anyone should have the mindset coming in there with, as long as we make like top 2 in the group, we're fine. That's like the goal. Because I just think you already lost at that point if you want to have that mindset. So yeah, just winning the whole tournament, I think would be obviously be the goal. But then again, we're a new team. We've been like a team for 3 months. So, I'm just happy to be a part of it, to be honest.
When it comes to your own personal expectations, is that any different?
I mean, I've never played on LAN before, so
never like in any context ever. You haven't touched the LAN build.
So there's one instance where I I think a year and a half ago I recorded a 1v1 series with against a Swedish player as well from Chaos Red Groove.
Yeah,
and we hosted it in the same, like we were sitting next to each other doing a 1v1, and we actually hosted online and not on LAN. So at that point, that could have been the first experience, but we kind of screwed it. So
that's fair. Have you ever been like to any like LAN at all, even as a spectator?
Never. This is the first time.
Genuinely? Like not even just Siege, like anything local, like from a different game or competition. Have you been to anything before?
Not esports. No, I don't think so.
Really?
That's the first time.
So the experience of audiences and like that kind of close-knit coordination with everybody, that's not something you've had the chance to experience yet.
I mean, of course in like football and other stuff, but like not esports wise, no.
Sure, okay, yeah. But I think that level of camaraderie in traditional sports definitely would be different for sure. Okay, hey.
Oh yeah, 100%.
All right, so a lot of people going into their first LAN, I remember what Iconic said when Astralis went to Charlotte was, if we make it to playoffs, it's just going to be like extra energy that we get from the audience. And that wasn't something that he had gotten the chance to do for himself yet until Charlotte came around. Do you kind of figure it's going to be a similar experience for you? Or do you see the crowd and think that's actually super daunting to think that there's that many people watching me do this?
I mean, I've seen pictures of like the whole the seats and stuff. I mean, it's just gonna be a different thing, I guess, if you sit down on the stage and play with all of the energy that comes from the crowd. I mean, we'll see how things turns out. It's hard to say at the moment.
Hey, you have a lot to look forward to. Those things are fun as all get out, and I'm saying that as somebody who hasn't, I've not been on the stage playing it. It's going to be a fantastic experience for you. So, dude, you're going to have a lot of fun. Like, no matter what happens, it's going to be great. Yep. So that's about all that I had at the very back end of this. Is there anything else that you kind of want to throw out into the ether about how stage 2 went for you? Hopes for things going forward? How you think things went? Anything else you want to throw out there?
No, just happy to be a part of it, to be honest.
How do you stay humble as somebody with 560,000 subs, even still to this day, still managing to make it work?
I mean, I think of course, I think everyone has had like bad stages in terms of like personality-wise. Like I used to be this toxic ranked kid running around playing all day. But now, of course, I gotta be professional, Not because I want to be professional, it's just because I want to be professional, you know. But yeah, just trying to be humble, you know, not too toxic, not too much of an ego. Just,
No, I gotcha. Hey, again, like I've said before, it seems like it's working out. And for all intents and purposes, it seems like Rogue's trajectory is going super well. I certainly hope that ends up being the result. You don't want to bow out in your very first event, but there's still so much experience to be gained. And you're still leading the charge. Like, I did a check. It's you, then Amishian, then Benja, then Yazis, all in a row. And you're all the way up there at the top. So if you keep that going for one more play day, and
I can maybe break the 100 kills record for the first stage. That could be crazy. Yeah.
So what? I think you're at 93. Benja's at 94. Yazis is 91. Solotov's at 93. Oh, okay. Shy goes at 94. I had to scroll further down to find.
But those guys have also played more rounds than me, to be honest. I played more rounds.
That's
how I see it. That's how I see it.
Yep. All right. So if you were to nab like an MVP for the overall stage, is that something that is going to be more of like a confidence booster for you, or is it just kind of like, hey, that's a cool thing to get for stage 1, that's awesome? Like, is a rookie of the year accolade something you ever really think about, or is that just kind of a nice thing to get if it came around?
I think getting these awards would probably just be like a sign that you're doing good, I guess. But then again, I didn't have that in mind coming into the stage. Like, my own personal goal for the stage was to be positive, like you know, to be on a good rating, of course.
So you're definitely above just a normal positive rating. I think you're doing a good job there. Awesome.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you would just want to throw out there? If the standard post game interview question of anything you want to say to the Rogue fans?
I mean, the game against Pawns was a bit of a troll from our end. I don't know, not that much to say, but I hope to show up, even though it doesn't matter the next game, like against Navi on Monday, but we still want to, you know, win the game, even though it might not matter. But yeah, always have the mindset of winning the next game and not trying to focus on, you know, the major or whatever. Always focus on the next game. That's a good mindset to have.
Yeah, it's very well said. Awesome. I don't have anything else for you, Spoit. Thank you very much for spending a couple of minutes, and best of luck in Berlin.
I appreciate you.